Okay, I'm back again for another day in a row, and actually I'm going to do two videos today, but this one is going to be about new comics. There were only a few things I got. My place in Huntsville was out of Secret Avengers, so I won't be picking up Secret Avengers until I don't know when. But I have three things I went over today, and then later on I'm going to talk about some X-Men stuff, the conclusion of Second Coming, as well as some of the new things that they've got going. But anyway, I'm going to start off with, I got two DC things and one Image book, actually. We're going to start off with Batman Beyond. This is issue 3 of the 6-issue miniseries. And this is continuing the Hush Beyond story. That's the one that's been going on, is basically Hush, in some form or fashion, has returned from the grave. Not necessarily the grave, but Hush is back. And is starting to make a ploy to kill all of Batman's villains because Hush seems to be of the mentality that Batman's rogues gallery are technically the only family he has, so he's going to make him an orphan again. And so he's setting off to kill all his villains, and this one he caps off Calendar Man, and then makes a move on the new Catwoman, who I'm annoyed with, kind of. The dynamic between her and Terry is just kind of strange. But it continues to kind of thrill in a very Batman Beyond sort of way. The only issue I'm having at this point is that Bruce is coming over is very, very, I think, overly harsh towards Terry. Now, this book proves that this is post Return of the Joker, but it's pre-epilogue. So it's the end of the new series after Return of the Joker, and it's before epilogue for Justice League Unlimited. Because in this book, he starts, basically Batman is trying to throw out Terry because he doesn't think Terry's dedicated to the mission. And he doesn't really throw him out, but he's creating kind of these wraiths very in a Kingdom Come style to kind of back him up out in the field because he doesn't think Terry is devoting the time that he should be. I believe that there's probably something more on Bruce's mind that we're going to find out about later. But when he starts to try to gather clues about Hush, he goes first to Tim Drake, and Tim Drake is still recovering from the Return of the Joker stuff that happened where the Joker basically started taking control of his body. And he's still recovering from that. And then at the end of the book, McGinnis, under the advisement of Tim Drake, Terry McGinnis decides to go find Dick Grayson. And in theory, marking Dick Grayson's first appearance in the Batman Beyond canon. We saw Tim Drake in Return of the Joker, and Barbara Gordon, Batgirl, was the commissioner in this story. So this is our first appearance of whatever Nightwing's been up to in this Batman Beyond world, which is kind of cool. People stumbling around laughing outside, it's kind of terrifying. So the story continues to weave here. Like I said, my biggest issue is that I feel that Bruce Wayne is being overly harsh. I think Hush is very sadistic. I think the Hush is working. I do not believe we're intended to think that this is the same guy. But it's working really well. Adam Beechin, I think, is doing a pretty good job here, and Brian Benjamin and John Stanishi are still doing a great job with the art, mixing the Paul Dini, Bruce Timm and style with a mix of their own style, creating a very good mix of both. So it's nostalgic and it's something good and new at the same time. And it's quite good. I mean, it's not setting anybody on fire. It's not going to be remembered as the next Watchmen, but it's entertaining to me. I mean, it's a character that I liked. It's a character that the first comic I ever got, like I said, was a Batman Beyond book. So it's kind of cool to be able to see this coming out now. So if you dug Batman Beyond, I think you'll dig this one too. So check it out. It's worth a shot. Next up is Brightest Day number 8. This book continues to be the most frustrating book around. Not necessarily because of the content. The content is very, very good. But this book, again, completely ignores Firestorm. There is no Firestorm segment in this book. We've seen very few actual developments of Firestorm, and it's kind of frustrating in a way. because this book takes major strides with Hawkman. That's kind of the star of this book almost, is Hawkman. Artie and Cy, after on the Hawkman bits, we get a good helping of Martian Manhunter as well, and then we get a little tease of the Hawk and Dove, and there's no Aquaman either. Although next issue is inclined to believe Aquaman because it's told that next issue Black Manta returns. So, but the stuff we're getting here is good. I mean, we start off with a little 2-page recap of the last issue where they're all recovering from the revelation of all finding out what their mission is. And so then Dead Man or Alive Man, whatever, is talking to Hawk and Dove, and then decides that he wants to go talk to Hal Jordan about all this. And Dove ends up coming with him. And that's all we get about as far as Ivan Rice drawn segments. There's only 2 pages. And then it switches over into Martian Manhunter and then jumps between Martian Manhunter and the Hawks for the rest of the issue. And the Hawk stuff is really good. The Hawk stuff kind of gives a lot of history. I'm not going to give it all away, but a lot of history over the whole Hawk situation. And basically, Hawkgirl's been captured by Half Set, a very classic Hawkman villain from the Jeff Johns era. And Hawkman is trying to rescue her and ends up amassing an army of all these people that, well, he doesn't inadvertently amass an army, but he looks at these people that are following him because he heals, and basically sees an army, sees a chance to overthrow these people and get Hawkwoman, I guess, at this point back. And it's pretty cool. We get a lot of history on the Hawks in here. It's really quite cool. About this whole Hawk world. It's kind of this kind of establishes this kind of passageway between Thanagar and Earth. And it's pretty good. And the Martian Manhunter stuff starts to get really heavy as well. And I mean, the Artie and Syaf work here is really, really good on the Hawkman stuff. We basically find out that the queen that is kind of in charge of these people and that have captured Hawkgirl is basically Hawkgirl's mother, which is years of therapy coming. And it's really quite good. It's really getting into some good history with the Hawks. Almost to a point where I'm just like, this should have been its own book. But on top of that, we've got the Martian Manhunter segments. Martian Manhunter has kind of been on a almost manhunt, as it were, for what he basically finds out that there's quite potentially something else here. And he wants to say it's a white Martian that's escaped his senses, escaped something. And he can't prove it. So basically he goes to find the only other active white Martian out there, which is the Martian Manhunter, I forget her official name, but Megan from Teen Titans, who's actually a white Martian that's impersonating a green Martian. And he goes to speak to her and finds her very defeated in previous issues. And he goes to find out that it was indeed a green Martian that did this. So Martian Manhunter is given the revelation that there's another green Martian out there after years of thinking he was the only one. So it's really, really good stuff with here. The only issues that I'm getting is the kind of nature at which things are included is rather frustrating at times, because the Hawkman, or more specifically the Firestorm segments, are kind of getting the shaft here. I mean, Firestorm fans, can almost skip complete issues and never have to, read anything about it. So it's a little frustrating in that regard, but I think it's going to get better, so we will keep following it, and we will see how it goes. Next issue, like I said, gives the caption that Black Manta returns, so I imagine next issue is going to be very Hawkman heavy, hence why I think Ivan Rice did very few work on this issue, because he's prepping for issue 9. And issue 9 is probably going to be a big Aqualad issue, too, with the new Aqualad. So we'll see how it goes, but the content that is there is really, really good. I'm just getting a little frustrated with how things are being continually left out for what appears to be weeks at a time. Anyway, this takes us over to the third and final thing for this week. Image United, number 3. With a very nice jam art cover, which I believe this one includes Todd McFarlane and Rob Liefeld at least. Um, this is another one of the most frustrating books on the market right now. A little bit of history on Image United. Image United basically was and started as a collaboration between all of the founding Image writers, or artists rather, except for Jim Lee, who was over at DC, and he still contributed, and a variant cover to issue 1. Anyway, this book, the idea was Robert Kirkman, basically the new Image partner, a big shot writer who's written Invincible. He writes Haunt. He writes Wolfman. He writes a bunch of stuff for Image. Image's big writer, and he's now a partner in Image. Comes in to write a series that combines all of these Image characters together in one book, and then all the different artists draw their own characters. Like, so if Savage Dragon and Youngblood are both on a page, Eric Larson will draw Savage Dragon, then send it over to Rob Liefeld, and then he'll draw in, that's my drawing signal, he will draw in Youngblood. And so every artist is doing layouts for an issue. This issue has layouts from Eric Larson. And it's got, like I said, art from all people involved. Like, let me find a page here that's a good example. Like you take a page like this. I mean, you've got Spawn up at the top there, drawn by McFarlane. You've got Youngblood down at the bottom, drawn by Liefeld. You've got Fortress on the but next to Youngblood there on the purple and the green, drawn by Willis Patachio. And then you've got Savage Dragon over there, drawn by Eric Larson. And then, so everybody's drawing their own artists, or own characters, rather. All the artists are drawing their own characters. So it's a rather pretentious undertaking. So naturally it ran into delays, because what Image book doesn't. This book is massively delayed. Issue 2 came out last December. So we're looking at an eight-month gap between issues 2 and 3. 8 months. I don't like it when a book is so delayed, I have to reread the old issues to remember what happened. And to me, that's just irresponsible. I mean, because some of these artists are churning out work like crazy. Eric Larson has got Savage Dragon out every month. Willis Patachio has been doing stuff with the X-Men. Rob Liefeld even has been putting out tons of work. Deadpool Corps, as well as more Deadpool things. I mean, he's out there. And a lot of people threw the blame on McFarlane, who's also inking Spawn, so people have naturally assumed that that's what's leading to this. These massive delays is McFarlane, and McFarlane has taken a claim for it, but basically told them that he said going in that there were going to be delays. Understanding that, though, I don't believe there's any excuse for something like this. An 8-month gap between issues is ridiculous. And for a story that's not even that good. I mean, that was the thing. The first 2 issues got horrendous reviews. Terrible. I mean, it was like very, very ham-fisted. It was kind of a very kind of, we're going to put the square block in a circle hole here to make all these characters come together. And this issue, it's 20 pages of main story. And it feels like it ends early because there's no ad pages in the main story. I mean, throughout the main bit, there's no ad pages, to my understanding, if I remember correctly. No, I don't think there is. So it's nonstop action for these first 20 pages, but it means it goes very quickly. And then to pad it out, which, I mean, I appreciate. I mean, and it ends on the cliffhanger that the Omega Spawn, who we already knew was the villain, makes his grand entrance. And, we already knew he was the villain, so it's kind of a very lackluster thing. And then we get a backup by Eric Larson and Bill Sikowitz, featuring another one of the Eric Larson characters, who kind of, I'm guessing is just an introduction here. I don't recognize it from anything. I may be just crazy, but it's got 20 pages of main story. So I mean, and who knows when we're going to see issue 4? I mean, God, I don't even want to pretend to understand. But the story's just not that compelling. So I mean, honestly, for the first time in a while, since I think I talked about Nemesis, I cannot recommend Image United. If you like the art, you like the kind of big budget action stuff with no filler, with no substance, Image United lives up to all the stereotypes. But That's it for now. We will be back to talk about X-Men in a little bit.